live from headquarters, where we have new updates on the tragic missing fish story which happened just a few short months ago in Leroy, Alabama. If you will recall, Jason Stearns suffered a tragic loss when his exotic collection of marine animals disappeared from their aquarium at Stearns Estate. We have been given a recent update of footage that was gathered from various security cameras located on Stearns' property. The first photo shows the animals still cozy in their home aquarium. You can see, however, that it looks as if Stearns' maid may have accidentally left the house broom lying in the wrong location. As you follow the first few photos, you can see that the instigator most obviously was the whale that guarded the tank. You can see that he has jumped over to the broom handle and used his nose to lift the gigantic lid off the aquarium. Lifting the lid was probably not an easy task for the whale, but eventually he does manage to completely remove it from the tank. All that was left to do now was for the fish to jump out onto the handle as safely as possible without slipping to the ground in devastation. Patiently, they one by one lifted themselves out of the tank onto the handle and closer to their way to freedom. One after another, they started at the top of the handle and slid their way down to the floor. Luckily, neither of the animals were hurt in their attempt, and all made it to the ground safely. As they left the massive room that housed their prior home, they began to track down the long corridor that led to the outside world. Once they made their way to the end of the hallway, they came upon a door to the outside that seemed to be shut tight. Once they approached closer to the door, the whale decided to try to give the door a good shove to see if it would open. After it wouldn't budge, all the animals tried to lend a helping hand to see if the extra effort would pay off. Still no luck. Their final thought was to try and create a tower tall enough to reach the door. So they stacked one on top of the other until the last one had made it to the top. But the top fish could only look up at the door handle that was still too far out of reach. So they decided to travel back down the long corridor that they had recently struggled to make it down just minutes earlier. Once they reached the other end of the hallway, they were distraught to find yet another door shut, blocking their way to freedom. Whatever were the fish to do to escape this situation? They had worked so hard just to make it this far to find that the door had been shut in their faces. Suddenly, the whale, which is the administrator to the other animals, turned to spot something of use in the distance. It was, in fact, a large mop pail used by the maid that apparently left the broom in the wrong spot to begin with. As they approached the pail, they just knew that this was going to be their way out. The fish were back on track. First, the whale jumped up to look over into the pail to see if it was safe for the pack to climb into. Once they confirmed that the coast was clear, the others quickly began to help each other get a boost toward the ascent into the pail. After a long climb up the side of the bucket, the fish were finally safe in a pail of water until the maid would come again and dump the bucket outside. The fish obviously found the perfect solution to parting their ways with captivity, as the mop pail was later found tipped over near the river's edge. Since the details of these photos have been released, we have had numerous sightings reported from various locations around the world. The most recent sighting happened near the Lady Luck Casino in Natchez, Mississippi. A visitor to the casino reported spotting the full group of marine animals in one pack parading down the river. It looks as if they had made their way back together again after exploring the world on their own. Another individual from southern Mississippi was near the area about the same time as the first spotting on the Mississippi River. We have managed to contact the person by phone for his remarks on the sighting. Here's what he had to say.
Shoot, yeah, I saw. They were swimming right down the old river there like they was happy to be alive. Man, I tell you, I almost hooked one of them over there next to that stump I fish all the time. I was just out there on my modified lawn chair fishing machine, went up past one of them there blue whales right in the middle of the river. I ain't never seen nothing that big since Mama had that corn removed off her left pinky toe. Behind that whale, though, come 3 big dolphins just a flittering out in the water. Before I knew it, here come a shark with one of them there seahorses riding on its back. Man, I didn't know if it was my eyes or them PBRs that I had done drank earlier that day, but I sure saw something. It was kind of like that time when me and my Uncle Bubba was out hunting. Saw one of them there Bigfoots over on the other side of the creek we had just done crossed. Now, I wasn't going to tell nobody about seeing the fish till I heard all the other talk. I just hope they can finally find their way back home over that Stearns fella before something bad happens.
Thanks for those remarks, ladies and gentlemen. That was an anonymous caller into headquarters with his story on the sighting